Alright, what is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD123 here, back in your PlayStation Source, and of course, one of the major things that I'm looking out for, especially in 2021, okay? Because we got a lot of things coming out in 2021. We got, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Horizon for Forbidden West, maybe God of War Ragnarok, / it's definitely not coming out this year, but besides all that, right, the one thing that I definitely want, guys, is of course, Factions 2, baby. Last of Us Part 2 mechanics, Last of Us Part 2 gameplay, in a multiplayer format in factions mode. Let's get it, right? So we've gotten, a few things here on Reddit that could very much well be fake, but I still wanted to just talk about it here and kind of give you guys a little bit of taste of what I want versus where we're at right now with factions, and kind of just do a little catch up on factions in 2021. So without further ado, let's go over Factions 2. Ooh, that rhymed. Starting off here, of course, let's go over what we know of so far with Factions 2. Of course, you guys very much are probably well aware right now, it was canceled for Last of Us Part 2. This was announced during the Last of Us Day, while then it was called Outbreak Day, but now it's been since changed, of course, given circumstances, but now it's called Last of Us Day. This was Last of Us Day 2019, where we got this official listing here from Naughty Dog, from the studio. They said this to announce that multiplayer will not be featured in Last of Us Part 2. We want to address multiplayer in Last of Us Part 2. As we've stated, the single player campaign is far and away the most ambitious project Naughty Dog has ever undertaken. Likewise, as development began on the evolution of our factions mode from The Last of Us Part 1, the vision of the team grew beyond an additional mode that could be included with our enormous single player campaign. Wanting to support both visions, we made the difficult choice that The Last of Us Part 2 would not include an online mode. However, you will eventually experience the fruits of our team's online ambition, but not as part of The Last of Us Part 2. When and where it will be realized is still to be determined, but rest assured, we are as big of fans as factions as the rest of our community and are excited to share more when it's ready. So that, of course, gave us a lot of different clues to the game. It looks like it has a very, very big scope and ambition, and of course, this definitely does sound like the story of Lost Legacy, where of course, Uncharted The Lost Legacy was going to be DLC for Uncharted 4, but then it kind of got blew up in ambition and kind of just blew up into its own game. So that's how we got, The Lost Legacy in its own standalone game, But they also say here that there are going to be different elements that are going to be very much like standalone. It's seeming like it's going to be its own separate thing and not connected to Last of Us Part 2 in terms of like booting the game format or anything like that. And then the last thing we got, of course, involving multiplayer was, of course, from the homie Neil Druckmann. He said here during his end of the Last of Us Day for 2020, he put out this tweet: "Thank you to all the wonderful fans for an incredible Last of Us Day. Your positivity and love is incredibly inspiring. Oh, and about that other thing, be patient, it'll be worth it." So that's what we got going on there with that. Apparently we're supposed to be patient. A lot of us are impatient. Now we got some leaks. Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, I'll take anything Factions 2. I'm very excited for that mode. Let's go over what this has to say. So this comes to us from a Reddit user named Oni1Infinity. Onion Infinity _8. I'm gonna link it down below in the description. Y'all can decipher that name, or maybe I just can't read right now, I don't know. But here is what he got going down here, okay? So he is talking about this new team within Naughty Dog that started working on this unannounced project back in 2020, and of course that's, this has to be Factions or a new IP. It could definitely be that, but based off of what he's saying here, it definitely sounds a lot like Factions. So it says here, first up on the bullet point, so wherever his info is, coming from, it started and is dated on March 2020. That's really cool right there. So it tells that they have been working on this game, of course, even before The Last of Us Part 2 came out. Then he goes on to say that they're playtesting a 2v2 PvP mode called Encounters Duos. Now this is interesting, right? Because I actually like this implementation if it actually makes it to Factions 2. I think this is a super cool addition to it, to have a very, very intimate 2v2 mode. Of course, 2v2 modes have been kind of like getting a little bit more popular with gunfight being in Call of Duty, and now, with this, I'm definitely down for this. This seems dope because Factions in itself is a very, very, stressful is a kind of like, it's kind of a big word. I would say like very tense factions is. So like having 2v2 would just add on to that. Next up here, this one is very interesting. It has multiple days that you can skip and restart. Now, I don't know if these days are referring to The Last of Us Part 2 day style, how that story mode went, how day 1, day 2, day 3 for Washington, etc. But I'm thinking that this is tying back to the factions kind of like progression type of system that they had over there with factions, where you would play within a 12-week period, and sometimes you would have random, like these like random events where it will say, hey, a part of your settlement has been, captured by hunters or whatever, and then you would have to play very, very good off of the next 3 days by picking a challenge that would help you boost the amount of people in your settlement. That way you can go and handle that problem that was introduced to you at the start of the 3 days. So it's a weird system. It's very, very odd, but like maybe that's what they are talking about here, where you could somehow like skip and restart days. That's pretty interesting. Next up here, this one is a big one for me. Okay, this right here is big. There is a character select screen with Seraphite and WLF options. I've been saying from the jump, I'll keep saying it, guys. I think it sounds super right. Factions 1, it was Hunters versus the Fireflies, right? I think for Factions 2, it is going to clearly be the Seraphites or the Scars and the WLF or the Wolves for, their other nicknames. I think that's clearly what we're going to play out here. I think we are going to play the WLF and Seraphite war between these two factions. I think that's the ultimate thing here. And seeing that we can, have these character screens and stuff like that, it definitely seems like we are going down that route for Factions 2 if these rumors are true, which they're definitely not confirmed at all. Next up here, you could do private matches. That's cool. Why not? Give us some little, private action with our homies. Why not? Pause. like private matches, what I'm saying? So shout out to that. That sounds cool. And lastly here, this one I think is, very much like par for the course. Definitely seems like it would be a thing. Some locations are from the story. Of course, we're gonna have a ton of Seattle different locations, and that's where the maps are going to derive from. I would love to see, even, what? Screw it. Take us back to Jackson. Let's fight in there, because they built out a lot of Jackson, and we were only there for a very, very short amount of time. I would love to have that be a map. I would definitely call back to the original factions. I would love to see the Seraphite Islands be a map with the Space Needle and the fog and all that. I think that'd be such a cool location to fight in as well. And why not give us the aquarium? We have plenty of assets built from the aquarium. That'd be a super cool map as well. A lot of cool environments that of course will be derived from part 2. Makes a lot of sense. Maybe even some later Last of Us Part 2 locations that are there as well. Maybe that, maybe in California. We will have to see. But overall, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do you want Factions 2? Are you hyped for all of this news? Do you want it to be true? What do you want in Factions 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure also, while you are down there, you can check out our description where you can find links to our Discord, our Twitter, and our Anchor link. That way you can listen to long form content in podcast format. Those of course being Road to series starting up in 2021. Of course, we'll have Road to Rift Apart. We'll have Road to Forbidden West. All those great series, as well as the brand new Save Slot podcast premiering this Friday. Make sure to check it out on YouTube, as well as podcast services like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Podcasts, all the good stuff down below in that Anchor link in the description. Like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as stay subscribed to PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.